this has nothing to do with me. And it's really important to understand. I have almost zero influence over this election. I don't want to say zero. Like, I have a show, and I know that there are some people who called in and said, hey, you know what? I was going to vote third party, but I'm going to vote Biden because I understand the risk. Or I was going to stay home and I'm going to go vote Biden because I understand the risk. You're not hurting. If Trump wins, I'm not really the person who gets hurt, right? I mean, I live in a blue state, and a lot of the crazy stuff that President Trump would do will affect me way less living in a blue state. My financial situation is fine. I'm completely stable financially. And unless Trump tries to come take my money, I'm going to be fine, right? You're not really getting one over on me if Trump wins. It's not for my benefit that I want Joe Biden to win. It's for the benefit of the country. I think it would be better for the country if Biden wins. So the people who write to me and go, David, have you seen these polls? Your guy's going to lose. Ha, ha, ha. This isn't about me. I'm not the one who wields the influence, and I'm not the one who's going to be overwhelmingly affected here. It's going to be a disaster for what this country is supposedly founded on. I don't know if and when the time to panic arrives. With some of these polls in which Biden is losing, there's 10, 12, 15% of the electorate that hasn't yet made up their mind.
I want you guys to consider a couple of details. I have been talking for probably years now about a particular observation that I made, which he's basically confirming. This observation wasn't about David Pakman. It was about independent media in general, left wing, right wing, whatever. I've said this, my subscribers, you've heard me say this multiple times. I've said this many, many times. These people are not on the same page with you and I, right? They're not on the same page with their audience. Their audience lives in one world and they live in another world. The world that they live in as an online influencer, online media person is somewhat shielded from the stuff that they talk about, right? When the Democrats give us crumbs, these guys can still make their millions. If Trump gets elected and does a bunch of craziness, their profits go up. The more chaos that happens in this country, the more profits that David Pakman makes, TYT makes, Brian Tyler Cohen makes, MSNBC makes, the best thing for their business model. And that's why it's not about mainstream media versus independent. It's for-profit media that is the problem. Independent media likes to manipulate their audience into this what do you call it? I don't know the word I'm looking for, but this whole thing about, mainstream media is awful. Mainstream media is so bad. Yeah, mainstream media is bad, but independent media, generally speaking, is far worse. Some of the best media we have is independent, but that's a tiny fraction of independent media. Most of it is trash. I mean, why would it be anything else? They're part of the for-profit media business, right? Which is conflicted. The business model is conflicted with what is good for the country, what is good for the audience, versus what drives more traffic. Why does MSNBC do what they do? Why does CNN do what they do? A lot of it is the profit incentives. Being honest and objective is not necessarily the most profitable thing. In general, I think it's not. People like to have their views validated. People watching MSNBC are not interested in hearing a bunch of critiques about Joe Biden. They want to hear about how great he is, how much better the Democrats are than the Republicans. They want to hear how bad the Republicans are. That will get you the most profit, and therefore they're incentivized to keep giving you that kind of content. Independent media is not shielded from that same dynamic, right? David Pakman's audience does not want to hear him, doing a lot of critiques about the Democrats and how Joe Biden's no good, and they don't want to hear about that stuff. They want to hear about how great Joe Biden is, right? And then he does a little honorable mention, Biden, he's not my favorite and he could be better and I have my issues with him. But generally speaking, he's going to talk about the great things Joe Biden does, how he's better than the alternative. He's going to talk about how the Democratic Party is much better than the Republicans. And he's definitely going to talk a lot about how bad the Republicans are. That is what is going to make him the most money. But the ultimate thing is, again, this is something that I extrapolated, right? Just watching their content, doing my analysis, I came to the conclusion that they are isolated from the stuff they talk about. Our lives, it's just content. Right? Now, I realize there's a little conflict in me as well because I am also doing, news media, right? But the difference here is I'm not doing it for a business. I'm not doing it to make money. I'm not doing it for attention. I'm not trying to become famous, right? I'm actually doing it to help my audience. I'm doing it for the reason that a lot of independent media claim, right? But ultimately, you could want to do the right thing, but it's a business. Doing the right thing. If doing the right thing is not profitable, are you going to do the right thing and then be out of business and not be able to pay your bills? Or are you going to give your audience what they want to hear, right? Me personally, I wouldn't go into this business because I know that the truth is not profitable, and I'm not going to do news media and not tell the truth, right? I'm not going to do news media and just be patterned about it. I'm not going to do that. So therefore, I couldn't do this for a living. I couldn't do this as a business, right? Because the content that I would put out would be too honest. right? The kind of content that's not going to drive traffic, as you can see on my channel. And yet I continue to do what I've been doing, right? I've been consistent, right? Not interested in following trends. I'm not interested in pandering to my audience. But again, here is one of these guys admitting that what I've been saying for years now is true. They are isolated from the consequences of their content. So when you see them, on one hand saying about, Trump gets elected, it's going to be something terrifying and the end of democracy and all this kind of stuff. And then you see them laughing at, Trump said something funny and it's so hilarious. And oh, look what these Republicans do. Oh, this is great content. Not content, but they'll say like, they'll talk about how entertaining it is watching Republicans flailing around or whatever goofy thing that Marjorie Taylor Greene, like, that's how they can find a lot of humor in that. I don't find this stuff to be funny. Right? These people are being paid by our tax dollars, and they're a bunch of goofball frauds, Democrats and Republicans alike, especially Republicans, but both parties, in my opinion, are fraudulent manipulators, right? That don't serve their base, don't serve the voters, doesn't serve the country. It's all about their self-interest, some more than others, right? And I find that disgusting and disheartening. So there's nothing funny. I don't find it's funny. Trump, all the nonsense he's saying, not funny. What's funny about it, right? But that's how you see these people laughing and having a great time. The Humanist Report, Rational National, TYT, Brian Tyler Cohen, all these guys, right? This is all just content for them, right? The worse it gets, the better it is for them, right? The worse this country gets, the better it is for them. Never forget that. You just heard David Pakman tell you, right? If Trump gets elected, that doesn't really affect him, right? Remember that. If Trump gets elected, David Pakman said to you exactly what I've been saying for years. It's not going to really affect him. So when you watch his content, remember that, right? You're the one that's going to be living the consequences of his content, MSNBC's content, CNN's content. At the end of the day, you're going to have to live with the outcome. They're going to make more money the worse things get. And then the other thing, and I saw Rational National do the same thing as well, this idea that he doesn't have any influence. So why are advertisers willing to sponsor his content if he has no influence? It just really doesn't make any sense. The idea that these advertisers are willing to pay David Pakman big money when he has next to zero influence. 2 million subscribers and he has next to zero influence. Let his advertisers hear him say that. He talks about politics. He's a political channel. What do you think he has more influence on? Politics or some app about reading books or some kind of mattress or whatever nonsense he peddles, some shirts? What do you think he influences more? Those products or politics? At a minimum, he has as much influence on politics as he does on those products. And since the companies are paying him good money, clearly he has much more than near zero influence. I mean, it's absurd. Absurd. Millions of people watching his videos, and he has near zero influence. He's getting more views than some of these mainstream media channels. He's getting more views than them, but yet he has near zero influence. That doesn't make any sense. And also, why is he saying that? Why is he and Rational National saying this? I've heard other independent media people say the same thing. Why did he feel the need to share that with us? That, hey, I don't have much influence. Think about it. This is Baby Channel. Type in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well.